Hi there, welcome to my channel After the Move. Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Now, this is our first video that we're posting on this platform, and it will be looking at deciding to migrate to Canada. I want to state up front that I am not an immigration consultant or lawyer. I am just a new immigrant to Canada who has gone through the process of migrating to Canada mainly on my own, and I have learned a lot along the way. I know that the process can be daunting, and so I decided to try to share this with you so that you can see how you can get to Canada and then what happens once you get here, what you can expect. Because I am a firm believer that when you have knowledge and information in your hands, you are able to make the best decision possible. So let us get right into it. How did I decide to move? Well, I actually found out that I could migrate to Canada without anybody sponsoring me from my friend. She came and she told me that, Rona, I'm migrating to Canada. And I asked her, how come? What did you do? And she told me that she applied under the Expressentry program. And I had no idea what that was because that was the first time I was hearing about an Expressentry program. So she gave me, I want to say a little highlight. She told me that it was a program where she got to go to Canada and become a permanent resident as soon as she landed. And she provided basic information to me that all she needed to do to get into the pool was that she needed to do an IELTS exam and she needed to send her credentials to get evaluated at World Education Services or WES. And then once she had all of that, then she applied in the pool based on the score she was given. They invited her to apply. She submitted the required documents and the rest, as they say, it was history. I'm like, what? Just like that? I'm like, okay. So she told me that, well, right now, given the current climate, the IELTS exams are hard to get. And right then and there, that very day, I jumped ahead. I paid the money, booked the test without doing any real research on my own. Because when I looked online, the tests were all like 3 months out. So I'm like, let me get this done. Knowing now what I know, I would have done things a bit differently. I got lucky, to be honest, and it is not good to operate based on luck. It's good to make these life-changing decisions based on fact. So when I did the research, I found out that the Expressentry program was an online management system for 3 permanent residence programs offered by the Government of Canada. This includes the Federal Skilled Worker Program, the Federal Skilled Trades Program, and the Canada Experience class or Canadian Experience class. No, this was all. I was like, what does this mean? Like, am I eligible for more than one? No? Yes? I don't know. I went ahead and I decided to look. So I'm going to go through that process with you guys right now. And I'm going to tell you, just Google, compare all Expressentry programs on your computer. But I'm going to do it on my screen and then you can follow along. Compare all Expressentry programs. Now, I would have searched it before, so I can click this and go. You will see that it takes you, the first option is from Canada.ca. So you can click this. It is a Government of Canada website. Now, I want to encourage all of you. The Government of Canada, they have done a pretty good job putting together the information that you would need to get to Canada. right? So when you are considering this seriously, I would suggest that you do your research, because the research is there. So you can compare the different express entry programs. So I'll just scroll down because this up top is an advisory. But you see, they tell you here what the express entry online system is. And then we will be looking now at the eligibility criteria for express entry, because there is a minimum criteria for you to even get your application in the pool. So outside of it being a points-based system, for you to even get in the system, there is an eligibility criteria. So different programs require different eligibility criteria. And if you visit this website, you will be able to see that. So for example, let us look at the amount of work experience. So for the first column, which is the Canadian experience class, you need to have 1 year of experience in Canada in the last 3 years, right? So if it is that you have never traveled to Canada, then what that means is that you won't qualify for that program. But if it is that, you went to school in Canada, if it is that you had a work permit at some point or the other and you gained some experience in Canada, then you qualify under the Canadian experience class. This is a good program to get in through, because you get extra points for that Canadian experience that other persons who have their work experience outside of the country do not receive. All right. So for the second column, which is the Federal Skilled Worker Program, you have to have 1 year of continuous work within the last 10 years in a you can have a combination of part-time, full-time, or more than one job in your primary occupation. Now, this primary occupation is important, and we are going to come back to it in a couple minutes. For the Federal Skilled Trades Program, you have to have 2 years of work experience within the last 5 years, and this can be a combination of full-time or part-time work. So you can look at the eligibility criteria on this website and decide, if this is something that will work for you. All right. All right. So after you've decided what the eligibility criteria are, then you can go ahead and look what your NOC code is. Now, NOC stands for National Occupation Classification, and this is what they mean when they say your primary occupation. So each job is qualified by a code, or each job has a code, an NOC code. So before you apply, because it's a requirement, and this is important for several reasons. It tells you what tier your job falls in, along with other things. So let us go back to that page that we were just on, and we're going to look what your NOC code is. Okay, so to find your NOC code, you can just simply Google find your NOC code. But since we were on this page just now and there's a link, we're just going to click that link. And you can see that they say that the NOC is a list of all the occupations in the Canadian labor market. It describes each job according to the training, education, experience, and responsibilities. And there's an acronym for that tier needed to work in an occupation. So whenever you see the word tier, it just means training, education, experience, and responsibilities. So we're going to click the NOC, right? A lot of the times when you come on the Government of Canada website, they have notices at the top. So you can read those notices and then you can scroll down to the relevant information. So they give the list of tiers, right? And they tell you that, like for tier 0, for example, it is for management occupations. For tier 1, it's for occupations that usually require university degree. For tier 2, it is for occupations that usually require a college diploma or an apprenticeship training of 2 or more years. And you can just read all of that on their website. Now, for the system, you need to know what tier your job falls under. So you need to know what your NOC code is, because this code, you're going to see it keeps popping up over and over again during your application. So you have to know that code. So ensure you get a notebook and a pen, and because we're going to have to search for your code and record it. Now, they give you instructions. Here's how you can find your NOC code. So you're going to enter your job title in the filter items field. As you type words, they will change what you see as you get closer to your actual occupation. You're going to write down the numeric code shown in the center column. You're also going to write down the title shown in the right column, and you're going to write down the tier category shown in the left column. After you write down that information, you are going to go to the NOC website. You're going to choose version NOC 2021, version 1.0, and you're going to search for your NOC using the title or numeric code. Because this is important, because you have to make sure that the main duties listed match what you did at your job. Because we know in some countries, you may be, say, a product analyst, but a product analyst in Canada may be different from what a product analyst in your country does. So it is not so much about job titles here when you're doing this, but job duties. So you have to do your research to ensure that your job duties match. All right. So the occupation that I'm going to use is admin assistant. So we're going to type that here. So we see that by the time we're typing, admin assistants already come up. So we see that the tier category is 3, the NOC code is 13110, and we see that the class title is administrative assistants, right? So now we're gonna go right here, we're gonna click, go to the NOC website, right? And we ensure that the right version is selected here. And we're going to click search by NOC code. So we're going to enter our code, because that is an easier way, because the job only matches to one thing. So when we click that, we're going to click search. All right, so here it comes. So they give you a lot of different titles, because a person who has an administrative assistant role, they could be called an executive secretary. And you see that they say here, if you're a legal admin assistant or a medical admin assistant, you are in another category. You could be a human resources administrator, office administrative assistant, private secretary. So the titles don't really matter. What matters is the main duty that you perform. So you can see the group performs some or all of the following duties. So when you get your job description, you will see what your job description says. And this matters because they will require a job letter. But anyway, so it's one of the things it says is prepare, key in, edit, and proofread correspondence, invoices, presentations, brochures, publications, reports, and related material from machine dictation and handwritten copy. So whatever your NOC is, you just have to ensure that when you find it, it matches. If it is that you look and it doesn't match, then now you have to start looking at other things. This might be a little bit challenging for some professions. I would want to say that I know how to help you. I really don't, right? Because even my profession was difficult to find. Like, I don't even know if I could find it right now. But let us see. So we see the employment requirements, and then they give you exclusions. So if you're a court reporter, medical transcriptionist, or related occupation, then this is your NOC code. You'll click it and look if that matches your job description. So the information is there. It might just take some time for you to put it all together. All right. All right. So to determine who gets to come to Canada, they use what is called a comprehensive ranking system. Now, this system is points based. So points are given based on several factors such as age, education, language, and so on. And then candidates who are highest ranking are invited to apply for permanent residency. So how will you know how many points you have? Well, they have this thing that they call a CRS calculator, and you can use this to determine your eligibility. And that will also tell you how many points you will gain based on your factors. So it is just a guide, and this figure that you get at the end of going through this will help you determine how to proceed, whether you will go ahead and apply through the Expressentry program, or if maybe you need to look into an alternative way of immigrating to Canada. All right, so in Google, you will Google CRS calculator, and then you'll see comprehensive ranking system tool come up on the top. You will select that. So once you select the CRS tool, you will scroll down. There's a legal disclaimer because this tool is intended solely for guidance. The score that you get here, it might be slightly different from the one that you get when you actually do your actual Expressentry profile. So this just serves as a guide, right? So bear that in mind. It's just a guide to give you an idea. So you can read how you use the score, but what we're going to do now is to just start filling out the sheet, the questions, so that we can see what our score would be. So I am never married, single. How old am I? Let's say I'm a 27-year-old who is looking to start afresh in a new country. What is your level of education? So you enter the highest level of education for which you have earned a Canadian degree, diploma, or certificate. So if you studied in Canada, you would enter that. If you had an educational credential assessment, ECA, if you did your study outside of Canada, we need to get that. But that is what we will get from West. So we will just say, yes, we have it, because this is just a test, right? So we're going to assume that we have the things that they require, knowing that, if our score looks favorable, we'll go ahead and do our best to get it. So we're going to say we have a bachelor's degree, right? If you have a master's degree, naturally you'll get more points. So have you earned a Canadian degree, diploma, or certificate? No, I've never studied in Canada, or my fictitious 27-year-old has never studied in Canada. So Canada's official languages are English and French. So if you say that you're bilingual in Canada, it doesn't matter how many languages you speak, bilingual means English and French, right? So you will need to submit language test results, and this is the IELTS exam. So are your test results less than 2 years old? You're going to say, yes, you haven't done it yet. But as I said, this is just a test to see. Which language test did you take? We're going to assume that you're going to take the IELTS exam, right? So what is your score? Now, I think they have a minimum of 7 in most of the things. Like in areas like listening, you need to try your best to score higher. I would always aim to get a 9. If you drop to a 8.5, yeah, but once you hit that CLB 10, you get maximum points for English. So I'm going to select that we're in 7.5 to 9. For listening, I'm going to say we're at an 8. For reading, I'm going to say we're at an 8 to 9. And for writing, I'm going to say that we're at a 7.5 to 9. Now, you know yourself, you know your language capabilities. So if it is that you're not so good at English, you can put the basic. If it is that you feel like, you're very good at English, and it's not even so much about being very good at English because it's a high pressure test. So even if you're good at English, sometimes it's very challenging. So this is just what we're going to put for right now. And do you have any other language results? So some people know how to speak French or whatever, but I only speak English, so I'm going to put not applicable. Then it asks for work experience. So in the last 10 years, how many years of skilled work experience in Canada do you have? We can say we have none because we have none in Canada, right? In the last 10 years, how many total years of foreign skilled work experience do you have? So I'm going to say I have 3 years or more in my NOC because we know what our NOC as an admin assistant is. It's tier 3. So we meet this. So do I have a certificate or qualification from a Canadian province, territory, or federal body? No, I don't. Additional points. Do you have a valid job offer supported by a LMIA if needed? And I don't. Right, so I'm going to press no. Do I have a nomination certificate from a province or territory? No, I don't. Do you or your spouse or common law partner, if they will come to you, have at least one brother or sister living in Canada who is a citizen or permanent resident? And they give you the criteria. They must be 18 years old, related by blood, have a parent in common, or a brother or sister is related to you by blood, adoption, or marriage, right? So I'm going to go ahead and say no, and then I'm going to click calculate my score. Let us see what our score is. So based on this, right? So we see that the score is 1200. Based on this, my total score is 438. So my score is 438, right? All right. So what does this 438 mean? Find out in our next video. So next time we will look at the score that you got in relation to the Expressentry pool of candidates, and we will also say, if this is something that you should look into pursuing, or if you should probably try to explore another option. If it is that you should be proceeding, we'll be going ahead and looking at how you get your IELTS exam done and how you get your ECA from West and all of that. So stay tuned next time for all that info.